Have you ever wondered how a single decision can change the course of history? Imagine the Indian subcontinent at the turn of the 20th century. It's a vibrant tapestry of diverse cultures, languages, and religions, all under the rule of the British Empire. The British, masters of the long game, had a strategy of control that was as cunning as it was divisive. They called it divide and rule. Now let's zoom in on Bengal, the easternmost province of India at that time. It was a massive region extending from the Himalayas in the north to the Bay of Bengal in the south. This vast province was a melting pot of different religions, languages, and cultures, but it was primarily divided into two major religious communities, Hindus and Muslims. The British, always keen to exploit divisions for their own ends, saw an opportunity. They proposed partitioning Bengal, separating the eastern, largely Muslim regions from the western, predominantly Hindu areas. The British argued this would make administration more manageable, but beneath the surface, there was a more sinister motive. By dividing the people along religious lines, they hoped to weaken the burgeoning nationalist movement that was threatening their hold over India. This wasn't a decision taken lightly. There were debates, protests, and even violent clashes. People on both sides of the divide had their own fears and hopes. The Hindus, prevalent in the western part, feared losing their influence and dominance. The Muslims in the east, on the other hand, saw it as an opportunity for better representation and governance. Despite the opposition, the British pushed forward with their plan. Lord Curzon, the then Viceroy of India, officially announced the decision, and so the stage was set for one of the most significant events in Indian history. And so, with the stroke of a pen, the Partition of Bengal was officially announced on the 16th of October, 1905. This marked the beginning of a new era, one that would forever change the face of Bengal and indeed the entire Indian subcontinent. Imagine waking up one day to find that your homeland has been divided. How do you think you would react? This was the reality for millions of Bengalis in 1905 when the Partition of Bengal came into effect. The immediate reaction was a volatile mixture of shock, anger, and confusion. The British had carved Bengal into two halves, East Bengal and West Bengal, like a cake at a birthday party. But this was no celebration. The division was done along religious lines, with the Muslim majority east and the Hindu majority west. Yet this simple geographical division was far more than just a redrawing of boundaries. It created a shift in power dynamics that would echo throughout the region for years to come. The partition gave birth to a new political landscape, one where religious identity took center stage. And as the dust of the partition settled, another force started to stir. The divide had sparked a flame that grew into a fire of nationalism. Suddenly, the people of Bengal weren't just Bengalis anymore. They were Indians, united against a common adversary. The partition had not just divided a land, it had united a people. The Swadeshi movement was born out of this surge of nationalism. Swadeshi, meaning of one's own country, was a call to boycott British goods and promote Indian industry. It was a peaceful protest, but a powerful one. It was the first significant stride towards self-reliance and self-government. The partition had intended to weaken the nationalist movement in Bengal. Ironically, it ended up strengthening it. The divide polarized the people, yes, but it also ignited a passion for freedom that spread like wildfire across the subcontinent. So, in the aftermath of the partition, Bengal stood divided, but its people more united than ever. The flames of nationalism fanned by the partition would continue to burn, fueling India's struggle for independence. The partition led to an unprecedented wave of nationalism, setting the stage for India's struggle for independence. What happens when the voice of the people becomes too loud to ignore? When the dissent against the first partition of Bengal reached its peak, authorities had to sit up and take notice. The widespread protests, the Swadeshi movement, and the boycott of British goods were not just a display of public anger, but also a testament to the unity and resilience of the people of Bengal. In the face of such overwhelming opposition, the British government was compelled to reunite Bengal in 1911. One can't help but marvel at the power of unity and collective action. However, the unification was not the end of the story. As the wheel of time turned, the specter of partition loomed once again. But this time, the circumstances were drastically different. It was the year 1947, a year that marked a significant milestone in Indian history, the year of India's independence. As the euphoria of freedom swept across the country, Bengal found itself at the crossroads of history. With the stroke of a pen, once again, the province was divided. However, unlike the first partition, this division was not an administrative move by a colonial power, but a consequence of political decisions and communal tensions. The eastern part of Bengal became a part of a newly formed nation, East Pakistan, which later became Bangladesh. This second partition of Bengal was not just a geographical division, but a deep-seated social and cultural divide. Families were torn apart, communities were uprooted, and a shared heritage was cleaved in two. The echoes of this partition can still be heard in the stories of those who lived through it and in the cultural and social fabric of the region. The second partition of Bengal in 1947 was a stark reminder of the earlier divide, only this time the divide was permanent. But as history has shown us time and again, even in the face of the most challenging circumstances, the indomitable spirit of the people always finds a way to endure and flourish. How does a historical event from the past continue to shape our present? This question brings us to the legacy of the Partition of Bengal, an event that has left an indelible mark on the soul of South Asia. The partition brought about a radical shift in the political landscape of the region. The emergence of Bangladesh as an independent nation in 1971 is directly linked to the partition, which sowed the seeds of a distinct Bengali identity. This sense of identity, born out of the shared history of struggle and resilience, ultimately led to the liberation movement of Bangladesh. In India, the partition had far-reaching political implications too. It led to the strengthening of the Indian National Congress in Bengal and subsequently in the entire country. The partition also sparked a wave of nationalist sentiments that played a pivotal role in the struggle for India's independence. On the social front, the partition led to significant demographic changes. The mass migration altered the human landscape of both Bengal and Bangladesh, leading to a mix of cultures, languages, and traditions that continue to enrich the region's social fabric today. Culturally, the partition had a profound impact. It led to the evolution of a unique Bengali culture, a blend of Hindu and Muslim traditions reflected in the region's literature, music, and arts. This cultural synthesis has given birth to some of the greatest literary and artistic works in South Asian history. However, the legacy of the partition is not just about shared history and cultural amalgamation. It has also led to ongoing disputes over borders, resources, and identities. These disputes, rooted in the partition, continue to strain the relations between India and Bangladesh, making it a living legacy that still shapes the geopolitics of the region. The Partition of Bengal, a century-old event, still echoes in the lives of millions today. Despite the passage of time, its impact is deeply woven into the fabric of the region's reality, reminding us that history is not just about the past, but also about how it shapes our present and future. So, what have we learned from the Partition of Bengal? Let's make a quick dash through the pages of history we've turned today. We began our journey with the genesis of the divide, understanding the reasons behind the partition. It was a calculated move by the British colonial rulers, a classic case of divide and rule, to weaken the burgeoning nationalist movement by splitting the Bengal province along religious lines. Then we delved into the aftermath of the partition. The division led to widespread public outcry, sparking off large-scale protests and paving the way for the Swadeshi movement. A rise of nationalism surged through the veins of the Indian populace, igniting a spark that would eventually blaze into the flame of India's struggle for independence. Moving forward, we looked at the reunification and the second partition. The United Bengal was short-lived as the British, succumbing to the public pressure, annulled the partition in 1911. However, the seeds of division had been sown deep. The second partition in 1947 was a result of the same divisive politics, leading to the birth of East Pakistan, now known as Bangladesh. Finally, we explored the enduring legacy of the partition. The event reverberates in the socio-political fabric of the subcontinent even today. The Partition of Bengal stands as a stark reminder of the divisive politics and the power of unity against oppressive forces. It beckons us to remember, learn, and reflect. In conclusion, the Partition of Bengal was more than a mere redrawing of boundaries. It was a turning point that shaped the course of history, fueling a nationalist movement that eventually led to India's independence. It's a poignant reminder of the power of unity in the face of division and adversity. The Partition of Bengal is not just a historical event, it's a testament to the resilience of people and the enduring spirit of a nation. Do like, share, and subscribe our channel for more content.